All right, a massive cargo ship lost power earlier today in the Port of Baltimore, striking a major bridge and causing it to collapse. Local and federal officials have declared the event as an accident, noting the ship issued a mayday call prior to striking the bridge. Now, this provided a brief opportunity for officials to stop cars and attempt an evacuation. Though declared an accident, this morning's events provide yet another look at the vulnerability of our nation's infrastructure. And it follows repeated warnings from security officials of the many targets that remain exposed to possible attack. This is a byproduct of America's weakness on the global stage. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Randy Weber. He serves on the House Committee on Energy and Commerce and the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. He represents the 14th Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Weber, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Tony.
Now, Congressman, I know, like all of us, your thoughts and prayers are with those affected by this tragedy in the Baltimore harbor today. But what is your reaction to this when you think of the vulnerabilities that we have for planned attacks, deliberate incidents that could take place in our country when it comes to our infrastructure?
Well, two things. It highlights exactly what you're saying, that we ought to be focused, extremely focused on that. As you said, the country is at an all-time, our standing in the world because of Joe Biden is extremely weak right now. They ought to maybe have a program where these ships that are coming in under our infrastructure ought to be inspected on a more regular basis, and ought to be accountable for those kinds of inspections so that we can know for sure that they're going to be safe, they're going to be efficient, they're going to be powered, and something like this doesn't happen again.
I mean, we've got a lot of bridges in America, but in particular your state of Texas with the Gulf Coast, my home state of Louisiana. These are issues that are very real each and every day as cargo containers come in to our ports.
Yeah, they really are. And of course, trade, especially on the energy, of course, as you know, Biden has done his best to shut down energy. For example, LNG exports. So we got to be able to trade. And not only that, Tony, but the Port of Beaumont in my district, 14, moves more military personnel and equipment out of the country than anybody else. We've got to be sure that our military can get where they need to get.
Right. Yeah, that's actually another critical aspect of this. So let's talk about the warnings that we've had recently about a heightened risk to both cyber and physical attacks on the nation's power grid. As a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, this is something that is of great importance to you.
Well, it is. And of course, Texas has our own grid, as you know. People are trying to push me to try to get it on the federal grid. And I'm saying, no, we want Texas to be responsible for our own grid. There's really about 4 incidents that have happened of late, and Republicans are focused on trying to mitigate those risks from all hazards. They might be physical, they might be cyber, weather attacks. Weather. And so local customers are impacted, and so these energy companies have got to deal with local state officials because they're in charge of setting the rates. But having said that, there's about 4 things that have happened here recently. February the 6th, 2023, 2 people were arrested for planning to attack in Baltimore, Maryland, electric subdivision. And then on December 25th, 2022, 4 electric distribution substations in Tacoma, Washington were physically attacked. 3 weeks earlier, Moore County, North Carolina, they were attacked. And on December 2022, 2 electrical substations in North Carolina, Moore County were attacked. We were actually there and toured those. We have got to harden our grid. It's just that simple.
How do we do that? What's required? I don't think there was any money allocated in the current budget that was signed into place to do that. But this is something that's been brought up over and over again.
Well, one way we do it, Tony, is I drive through my beloved state of Texas and yours of Louisiana, too. You see power stations and power substations. Usually they're protected by a high fence with maybe it's a 6 or 8 foot fence with barbed wire at the top. What we probably need is hardened walls, concrete walls, because in Moore County, North Carolina, they actually had spent shell casings. 27 shots were fired And whoever did this was an expert, knew exactly what they were doing, because what they did was they targeted all of the transformers and the transformer oil tanks in such a manner that they drained all the oil, not just out of the shots were well placed at the bottom of each
Right.
transformer and the bottom of the tank, so that once that oil, which is the coolant for
Right.
transformers to make sure the plant can operate, once that was gone, that plant was over.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that. I was in Israel a week before last and noticed that all of their critical infrastructure, power, water, was guarded in that way to protect it from terrorist attacks or other nefarious operations. In fact, I see, for those who are viewing, they can see the top of your tie. You have a tie on it that appears to be supportive of Israel. If you're listening, you can't see it. But I want to get your reaction to the United Nations, or the U.S. at the United Nations Security Council yesterday, essentially throwing Israel under the bus. It's only like there's only been 3 other votes in which the U.S. abstained when Israel was in the target of a resolution. 53 times over the last 7 decades, we have stood to defend them with vetoes. Something's changed.
You know, well, first of all, I'm going to be in Israel day after tomorrow. Me and my bride are going. We're going to be there at the Jesus tomb. That's where they believe this tomb was, on Easter Sunday. So it's going to be a great trip. But you're absolutely right. And I think, I forget the State Department's guy's name, Matthew, was it Miller?
Yeah.
Who said that, we stand with Israel. I'm like, are you kidding me? And you know this, Tony, 60, 70% of the resolutions that come out of the United Nations are anti-Israel. And in my great district, we love Israel, the Jewish people. And we have a saying, get the United Nations out of the United States and the United States out of the United Nations. It is absolutely pure hypocrisy for him to indicate anything else.
Well, I know you are going to be over in Israel with my friend Heather Johnston, and you're going to have a great trip, very informative. I've helped her on a couple occasions lead those trips. Very informative, and you're going to be able to see some things on the eastern part of Israel, aka the West Bank, that underscores why we cannot go down this path of a 2-state solution and give half the country away.
Well, when you've got Hamas, who's committed to destroying all the Jews, all of Israel, you want to give them a place to live? They've got to take Hamas out, completely
Right.
out, is what Israel has got to do. Yes, Churchill said war is hell. There's going to be some kind of damage, collateral damage, and we regret that. But Israel's got to defend itself, and we have got to defend with them.
Absolutely. We need to stand with them. As I've said before, our future is intertwined with theirs. Randy Weber, always great to see you. Safe travels. We'll be praying for your safety.
Thank you, Tony. Glad to be here.